Hey, folks, thanks for tuning back in. I am back with the second half of my interview with Saffron Henderson. Saffron has literally spent a lifetime in show business. She grew up in the music industry. She has worked as a voiceover actress. She's worked as a actress. She's worked as a songwriter. She's worked as a singer. She's done all the things. She's got so much great stuff to share with us, and I can't wait for you to hear the rest of it. So let's go. The performing arts is it can be a very competitive space.
Yeah.
And do you have any thoughts around how to create an environment or what has, in your experience, created an environment that is more an environment of community and support rather than one of competition in that space?
Well, what comes to mind, first of all, is remembering being very young and having, when I was singing in bars when I was like 19, and having one of the guys in the band say, yeah, I was at a house party with so-and-so. And she said, we'll show that Saffron Henderson born with a silver spoon in her mouth. And she hates you. And I was like, what? And that was one of those realizations, like, wow, like the optics on me being a singer after my dad has been a musician, a successful musician, actually not good. It's not good. People are like, oh, the only reason she ever gets hired is because of her father. Yeah. They never said she slept her way to the top. They just said, oh, her father. And to be honest, he opened a lot of doors for me, but he can't walk through them.
Right. So you got to do that on your own.
You got to do it on your own. Some people don't even get past the threshold of that doorway because it's not their desire, or because they're scared, or they don't believe in themselves. I had to fucking work hard.
Yeah.
To stand up to his reputation. And you've had the same experience with your own dad.
Yeah.
Any work that you do in the music business or in show business is not, we've sort of been in their light for most of our lives. And to step into our own is like a super important piece of being our own selves, and not just being somebody's daughter, but being someone who actually has skills, has talent, has drive, is great to work with. Like, those are things you can, some of them, be taught and others not. But nobody can hold your hand and show up at the studio with you and kick ass on a song. It's you.
Right.
If you suck, you suck. It didn't help to have a dad who could open doors for you.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And he didn't open all the doors. There was a brief period where they said, oh, you're Saffron Henderson's father, which was hysterically funny to me. It was about a year in the 80s at some point, where I was laughing my head off. And he was like, that's really funny. But it was just me getting older is really what it was.
Yeah.
And me being out and about in Vancouver in our industry. Different aspects of it. But here's a really important thing about friends and competition in this industry, because we just happen to have a lot of singer friends and actor friends, because those are the people that we would see at auditions. And those are the people that we resonate with.
Yeah.
They totally get us. They're as sensitive, as crazy, as insecure, as absolutely blindsided by this business as we are.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, they're in the trenches with us. And for that reason, I used to be really careful about talking about the work that I do and not bragging, and knowing that next week I could be the guy with no jobs and nothing to report and no big splash. So I was always very careful to try not to, and I hope I was successful, try not to lord over anybody about anything that, oh yeah, well, I'm so busy. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm too busy. I can't keep up with all the jobs. Yeah. And occasionally I'm sure things didn't land right. However, I addressed it when someone said, what's going on? But what I also learned that is the biggest key to me about being in a business where you're going to compete with your friends, full stop, is that you can feel two emotions simultaneously. The biggest lesson I ever got was when somebody said to me, well, you're just jealous. And I was like, actually, no, there's two things happening. I am so envious of them for having this opportunity that I had really hoped to have. Mm-hmm. And they won. And I want that. I want that for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm so fucking proud and excited for them. I'm so happy for them. And both are coexisting and at fairly equal levels.
Yeah.
And I recognize that jealousy is like kind of a negative emotion. Really, when I think about jealousy, I think about it as one of those things that is a signal.
Yeah.
To a signal that transmits, you're feeling small, you're feeling small, you're feeling small, you're feeling small. And I can respond to that signal by digging in deeper and being like, fuck, I'm going to put a cauldron on the stove and I'm going to do bad spells to make sure no one else gets to have anything. And it's just me, only me. Right. Or I can get the signal and go, right. I'm feeling so small. What's that about? What can I do? Because I've always firmly believed that there is a fuck ton of room at the top.
Yeah.
There's so much room for us all. And we all, when it comes to voices, which is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
A lot. Each one of them is different.
Yeah.
And what sat well with a client that created this opportunity that I didn't get to have, what sat well, how my friend hit it was just perfect for that and for that client and that moment and that project. And it's not that I suck.
It's not. It's
ever.
What the client wants changes. What the client wants isn't a reflection. It's not like a morality piece on whether we are good or not.
No.
It is whether we're a match for this particular thing or not.
Yeah. And you can get into luck because there is luck.
100%.
There is luck. There's somebody wore orange pants on a day to the studio to do a voice audition and someone loved their pants so much they fucking hired them. Yeah. I know, like that's just, why didn't I wear my orange pants? You could go there or you could go, hey, sometimes things just happen or don't happen. And sometimes a lot of things happen in a row for me. And then sometimes a lot of things don't happen in a row for me. Yeah. And sometimes it's spotty. But when I go into a situation knowing that I'm competing against people that I really care about and really respect or don't know at all, as the case may be, I know that I'm letting go of my, like while I audition, I absolutely own it. It is mine. It is 100% me. And then once I've pressed send or left the studio, it's not mine. It's in the ether. It's going to go wherever it should go. I'm not going to try to influence the situation with cauldrons and spells. I'm going to say, if it will be, it will be. Like if it's meant for me, it will happen. If it's not, something else great is going to come along. Yeah. Because there are more gigs and there are more opportunities.
Absolutely there are. And that piece of like feeling happy for your friends when they get the gig, even if it's a gig that you wanted.
Yeah.
Great. If I couldn't get it, I'm so glad that you did.
Yeah. It's real.
I also think a piece of creating community is whenever I have work to share, I am so grateful that I have this community of other artists to share it with. Totally. When I get to hire voices for whether it's singing or speaking or whatever, I am so happy.
Me too.
That I have this network of friends that I get to share that work with.
Well, that I have this network of friends who are so amazing and excellent. And like, I blow people's minds when I bring them to the studio with me. Yeah. because they're like, wow, you guys are so good. And I'm like, hey, we are working together to create more opportunities for each other always. So that is a really exciting thing with community, is like bringing other people into situations, knowing that they're really great. Maybe this person's even better than me at this thing that we're going to go do together. That is okay.
Yeah.
It's also okay if the person hearing them is like, I want to use you next all the time. That's okay too.
Yeah.
You know, everything sort of comes around and ebbs and flows, and it's a winding path anyway, whether or not your friends are walking a similar one, almost arbitrary.
Yeah.
If you're good at what you do, if you love doing what you do, if you master receiving rejection, if you master losing, like my husband, the baseball coach, says, you got to lose some games to know how to win.
Yeah.
You have to know how to lose.
Yep.
And people are like, I don't want to talk about losing, but you have to know how to do it and do it well.
Yeah.
That's how you get to go on and win.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I think it's true in sports, and I think it's true in show business. And I think it is, you're absolutely right. It's a thing that doesn't actually get talked about enough, is that relationship with loss or rejection. That's a really important piece of the puzzle.
I think so. Because 30 years in, I still can have my feelings hurt when I'm like, they call me to find out my availability, and I'm like, I think I'm going to do this thing on Thursday. And then, oh, sorry, they went in a different direction. And I'm like, there goes $6,000 that I was going to have on Thursday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, those are sad moments.
They're sad moments, but it never was mine until I'm in front of the mic recording. Actually, until the check comes, it's not really mine.
Yep.
So,
because we've all done the gigs where we did the work and the check didn't come.
Well, yeah, they decided that they would now they want to have a mail on that. Like, it can be as impersonal as that, or it can be as personal as they want to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
i.e. somebody fucking hates you and they're not going to let this happen. So we're switching. Yeah. Right? There's like, sometimes the client loves you and the ad agency hates you, or vice versa. It's tough. It's tough. So there is a lot of rejection. And if you receive it like body blows every time, you can't be in this business.
Yeah.
It's okay to break down and feel disappointed. Usually it's a cumulative issue where a couple of things don't go your way and you start to look at it like, what the fuck? What's the matter with me?
Yeah.
Right? Which is a dangerous place to be for too long, but is a natural place to be for some time.
Yep.
Very natural.
It is absolutely natural to pass through that place.
Exactly. Like, how are we responding to that? So 30 years later, when my feelings get hurt and I'm like, I actually feel kind of sick. Because I was just I feel tears. Like, I was so excited to go there and be at that studio or I think that I'm perfect for this spot or perfect for this job. And it felt like it should be mine. Occasionally those happen and you don't get them. Occasionally they happen and you're like, oh, fuck it. I knew I was going to get this because I nailed that and I felt it and I felt the vibe and I'm a psychic, right? But so 30 years later, still having a tear every once in a while is really about where I'm at in my own self.
Yeah.
And on that day and what else is happening. And it doesn't go away. You don't just grow out of having your feelings hurt because you got rejected. You just get fucking better at dealing with your feelings. Yeah.
I think you learn to manage the process. You understand the process better the more times you navigate it. Yeah. And you understand that it's not a final destination. It's a stop along the way.
Yeah. And if you're worried because you're not making a lot of money and winning a lot of jobs, and you're worried that you're failing this year. The funniest thing happened to me. There were 3 years in a row where I went through these huge ebbs and flows. And there were times where there's like a little bit coming in. And then there were times where I was like, wow, that was a great month. I'm going to have great months all year. And then 4 months later, I'm like, shit. Shit. These have not been great months. And the funniest thing happened. The universe told me a great joke and gave me the almost down to the 1,000, the exact same income 3 years in a row. And I freaked out. All of those years, I freaked out that I wasn't going to make as much as last year.
Yeah.
And I looked at what would happen in the first and second quarter and was like, fuck, or thought, yes. And that just wound up coming back to the same income each year. And I was like, wow, I sure put myself and my family through a lot listening to me complain to land in the exact same spot. How fucked is that?
I tell you, our
it was a good
relationship
lesson.
It's so true. It really is. Do you want to talk for a second about, so we've talked about the different flavors of being a singer.
Yeah.
Now, you also use your voice as an actor, as a voiceover actor, both for advertising, narration, and animation. You've done all sorts of fun little karate boys and things like that, right?
Karate boys.
You've done lots of like anime and I'll tell you what, when my kids were little, when Cleo the Misfit Unicorn came on, we loved it because it was Auntie Saffron.
Oh my gosh. It's like, my name's Cleo. Yeah. Oh, Talbot, you're so silly. I remember her.
Yeah. So you want to talk about sort of the different ways, the ways that those differ from one another and what that looks like now, like in terms of going to a studio versus recording in your closet.
Oh, which do you want to do first?
You choose.
So talking about the different kinds of voiceovers.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. So, many voice actors sort of have like a gateway form of voiceover that they start doing, commercials or animation or
it's the cannabis of voiceovers.
Right.
And
then they're like, wait a minute, what about audiobooks? Or, hey there, I'd love to do descriptive video for the sight impaired. Right. So my advice to voice actors is always diversify.
Yes.
Be as diverse as you can. Develop other parts of your skill set when it comes to voiceover. Start where you're starting, whatever you're most interested in, like you get really good at that. But don't ignore those other forms of voiceover because you just never know. It's like a patchwork fucking quilt for me. Yeah. And it is for a lot of actors, voice actors. So commercial work is how I started voiceover. And what was really refreshing about it is I didn't have to sing my ass off and be completely physically exhausted. By a session. I would generally get to walk into a studio and work for an hour or two or 15 minutes and be paid decently because of our union doing the work that they've done over time.
Yeah.
And because of my agent who helps us not all race to the bottom. And be paid well for my time compared to other things that I was doing in my life. Like film acting, you have to show up for 8 to 50 hours. And a lot of it's waiting around. And then it's quite high pressure while you're actually working.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're driving to wherever, anyway, I'm just saying, like walking into a studio and saying, Home Depot, you can do it. We can help 3 times, 4 times, maybe 15. I'm sorry, maybe 25. And then leaving is a really nice work day.
Yeah.
So I enjoy commercial work. And I used to fret because I was like, I'm not curing cancer. I'm not doing I wanted to heal the world. I'm not healing the world at all doing 7-Eleven spots. And then I had a realization that actually, if I infuse what I'm doing with love and somebody hears a 7-Eleven spot and just the little bit of joy or crackle comes through the radio,
Yep.
and they smile, job done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I can fantasize about affecting people positively with my commercial work.
Yeah.
And it's a vibe, it's energy. And
Absolutely.
The voice is transmitting more than just little sonic, tings that we hang our ears on. There's a lot more going on than that.
Yeah.
So energetically, I feel like even in commercial work, I can reach other humans, right?
Yep.
So there's that. Commercial work is really fun in that you can work on a 30-second spot for 2 hours. I don't mind that. I don't mind that we can unpack so much about what the writer wants to change and the client needs to hear and the creative wants to expand on. I mean, it's not often we do 2 hours for a 30-second spot, but if it's for the government, hell yes. You do some takes, then you sit down for an hour and a half and you wait while they phone everybody they know. And they have to phone all the people who work for the government.
Yeah. All the departments have to sign off on it, right?
And they have to sign off on it. So it's 2 hours for 30 seconds, but you're like, well, I am getting very well paid for my 2 hours. I'm here and I just sit down and shut up and don't ask questions. And then when it's time to speak, I speak. And I love that work.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun. I think it's really fun. And I've met a lot of amazing people doing it and clients that when I hear them over the headphones from Buffalo or wherever they are, I'm just like, yeah, it's just so nice to hear them.
Yeah.
And so narration is different and really fun as well. A lot of narration these days winds up being like web videos, web tutorials. And I do descriptive video for the site for low-sighted people. It's not just blind people that need it. It's also helpful for people with varying degrees of sight impairment. And it's some of the most satisfying work that I do. And it's funny because what I'm doing is saying, he throws the piece of lettuce at her.
But you just talked about how what you wanted in your heart was to change the world. And there you are doing something that really makes an impact for somebody's ability to function and relate and consume information in the world. And that has a huge impact, right?
Well, the hugest impact is that somebody who is legally blind can sit next to their sighted friend on the couch, eat popcorn, and watch a movie and hear a movie. And it's another way that we could be so much more inclusive, and it's becoming much more important in the world for things like subtitles for people who are hearing impaired and descriptive video for people that are sight impaired. And it is important. Believe me, they're on that whole ride with you for their hour-long show. And if they respond to you and like you, they just feel good when they hear your voice for a different project, even like they know they know who we are. They know who we are. And so that's amazing. There's a lot of community in that work. And I will tell you right now, it's the lowest paying work I do, but it is among the most important things that I do. And same with for commercial work, same with PSAs. I will, if my agent calls me up and says, the Lung Association has a few spots, they'd really like to use you, they can't afford your rate, I frankly would do it for free. Don't tell them that. Don't tell them that.
Don't tell.
They usually offer you a little honorarium or something. But I'm telling you, those are the moments where I go, hey, I can use my silly skills for something actually helpful.
Yeah.
Am I curing cancer? No. Can I help them fundraise so that they can cure it? Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So narration, that kind of narration is really gratifying. I also love doing documentaries.
Yeah.
I love it. Narration and audiobook narration is so fun.
I'm so glad that you're doing that now. I remember saying to you for so long, I wish that you would read audiobooks because I consume audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I just kept saying, you'd be so good at it. I'd love to listen to you read a book.
I need to do more of them. The thing about them is they take forever to record.
Yeah,
so 16 to 24 hours of actual recording.
Yeah. And
often we do it, in 3 or 4 hour sessions. And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I love it though. There's a ton of prep work. You don't get paid well compared to, I'm having all kinds of burps and hiccups right now. I don't know why.
That's okay. Real life, baby.
It's real life happening. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Oh, now I have the hiccups. Oh, shit. So.
Behind the scenes with a voice actor.
Whoa. Sometimes I'll be in the studio. I'll be like, today, Johnny. Okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. All right, let's try that again. Today. Oh my God, you guys. I'm so sorry. Fuck. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Just a sec. Just a sec. I'll be right back. I was going to drink some water. Have a little water here. Today, Johnny. You're just like, fuck. Anyway, sometimes that happens. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
As long as I don't start laughing. But it's really hilarious because you edit your own auditions at home.
Yep.
And you realize how fucking disruptive those sounds are that can happen naturally. And you're just like, oh my God, what people have to suffer through while I'm in the studio. Not good. It's not good. But it's not all the time. It's just awful when it happens and you can't stop it. And you're like, what did I eat? I ate nothing. How did I do this? Does anyone have an apple? I don't know. The other form of voiceover you were talking about is narration, which is a lot of people that I teach, students of voiceover. That's why they want to do classes. That's why they want to do that. They want to create characters and they want to do animation and even dubbing. Like they love all the anime and that work is super competitive and it's very pockety. Like certain people are doing all this work and certain people are doing all that work. And it's difficult to, as an outsider to those little tight groups of animation actors, it's hard sometimes for people to break in. But lately, since the pandemic, they're like, I want only fresh people sending auditions from their home. They may not come to the studio. And so then there's lots of opportunities for newer actors because we are doing so much from home.
Yeah.
The problem with that, segueing into, oh, by the way, being animation is just so fun because you get to be someone else and explore somebody else and bring out parts of your personality and enlarge them and put so much energy behind them. Whereas commercial and narration tend to be more subtle. Narration is really, you can, as a narrator of an audiobook, do like 80 some characters in your audiobook. I have fucking spreadsheets for every character, their age, their all this sort of stuff, a physical description, if I can find it in the book. Like I study that so that when I do each character, I'm informed like who's coming up and try to create voices and separation so that you don't feel like I sound like the same person for every character. Yeah. And there's varying degrees of that. Some producers just want you to don't acknowledge character voices and others are like, really push it. I really want to hear broad dialects and characters. But in animation, you get to just go bananas and it's high energy. which is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an extrovert, it's really fun.
Yeah.
Everybody feeds off of each other's energy in a studio situation. Even when you're doing dubbing, it's high energy because usually the original tracks, the Japanese tracks, are way more energy than anyone in North America would even consider. And even for us to get like 3/4 of the way, comparatively with the energy of the original Japanese recordings, it'd be quite an achievement. So
just for anyone who's not familiar with that terminology, dubbing being when you're putting fresh voice tracks in English over a show that was recorded originally in a different language.
Yes. Dubbing or, excuse me, dubbing or ADR.
Yeah.
ADR is another. And most of the anime that you're going to see is going to have been recorded elsewhere. And I don't know, like, I mean, I've done shows from France and Germany, cartoons from those places, and I don't know if we call that anime. I think anime is a Japanese term coming from the manga, right?
Yeah, that's always been my perception, but I am so not in that world.
Well, I'm in that world, and geez, I don't know. What do you think, Oxnard? I think it's not anime if it doesn't come from Japan. Okay, thanks for that. Yeah.
So we are coming down to time-wise, we're running out. So do you want to just very quickly talk about the like, not everything is in studio anymore. Sometimes you're recording in your closet.
I knew there was a piece of it that I'd forgotten and a tangent that I went on.
That's all good.
Okay. So the pandemic ceased all in-person auditions and a lot of in-person sessions. I was recording more actual voiceover from my studio at home than I ever had. And I still do a fair amount of it from home. So the great thing is that if you have a little studio set up, you can record your auditions and send them in. And since the pandemic, they haven't gone back into in-person auditions except for extreme occasions where, we need to hear a filter on that voice for that commercial. So we'd like to choose 2 or 3 ladies to come in and read, women to come in and read the spot, and we'll put the filter on. I almost said to them, I was like, I could do the filter at home. And then I was like, wait a minute. No, I get to go to a studio. They heard my first audition. They liked it. It's, who knows if I'll get it, but I'm going to show up there and I'm going to say hi and see their faces again because I miss them all so much.
Yeah.
So other than like we go into sessions and they leave time between the sessions so they can clean the studio. They have all kinds of hand sanitizer. We're masked until we're on mic. Like, we're still very careful in a studio environment because it is an enclosed space. But it's very weird because we're not seeing each other as actors anymore because there's 15 minutes in between us a lot of the time if we go in. And recording at home has so many disadvantages, it's not even funny. One of the biggest problems for me is that part of my hireability is about my directability. So when I receive a commercial script or an animation script at home, and or even an audiobook script, although I don't think they ever would audition those in person. Okay, the other ones. I look at the specs, which are the things where they mention, say, the age, the kind of voice they're looking for, any description of the character or personality traits or whatever. So when I receive that and I do my audition, I'm just like, well, this is what they want or what they think they want. But what I know is they don't know what they want until they've heard it.
Isn't that the truth?
I know this from all my years. I know this. So my own instinct might be quite counter to the specs. And when I go into a studio, let's say they have auditions from 9 till 5. And they're seeing somebody every 15 or 20 minutes. The engineer producer that is in the studio. The client's not usually there. Engineer, producer that's recording everybody and their auditions when the people come and they look at the script and they see the specs and they go, okay, I could do this, I could do that. And then they will be directed sometimes into a very different place than the specs say, because the engineer producer has a gut feeling about it too.
Yeah.
Knows the client, knows that, like, has done spots for these guys before, knows how perky they actually want it, even when they say we want it really natural and low key. They know the client and they know that end of the roll is going to want us to jack up the energy. Right. This is how it's going to work. And they guide me, knowing everything that they know and knowing about me and my range and what they could pull out of me. They guide me beautifully to a different place than I could get at home.
Yeah.
And not only that, the client gets to see, and the engineer producer gets to see the malleability of the performer. And they see how we respond to direction, whether we're an asshole and whether we're like, no, it says this, so I'm going to do this. Yeah. You don't know that until you've got the person in the studio.
Or they give you directions. I mean, there's also actors, they're not the great ones, but where they give you direction and the take sounds exactly the same after the new direction, right?
Hell yes.
That's telltale to a producer as well, that's not going to be a great fit because you don't have any range.
So big problem. People are being hired from their home auditions where they have not been directed, where they haven't, quote, shook hands with the people that they would be working with. And people are actually being, I've noticed it in a couple of video game projects that I have helped out with. And a few, people at studios that I do get to talk to are like, yeah, we had to revoice that.
Yeah.
Because we got them in there and they couldn't act their way out of a paper bag.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, fuck sakes. I wish we were doing in-person auditions. I wish. And consequently, I've done some casting. And on the casting side of things, when I hear everybody's MP3s, we've all got different, levels of studio quality, different amounts of time on our hands to fucking take out tiny mouth noises. Yeah. We've got different understandings of what and what is not acceptable for, bonking the mic stand or smacking your lips or whatever. Like, some people are just like, I don't know, I just did my best. So when I'm casting and I'm hearing that, I was like, you know what? I could have directed any of these people to get this job. Right. Any of these 8 people for this one role would have been fantastic if I got to be in the room with them and help them get this read, because I know what's required of this script.
Yeah.
Because I'm working with the client and I've seen footage. Yeah. Blah, 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 that I can't share.
So there's that missing link.
Missing link. If that person was in the room with me, they wouldn't have come off as unprepared or unaware or hurried. Like the other thing is the focus. Like if it's 11 at night and I've heard the final person go to bed in my house and I'm down here recording and I've turned the heat off because I don't want to hear the heat. Like throughout this podcast, you're going to hear my fucking heater come on.
My heat's been off today. I know. Same thing. Same deal, right? Because my furnace is loud.
Sorry, I let it rip. I had to. I'm dying here.
I have not noticed your heat.
It's so cold. Worth. So I have to do all that. And I've got a blanket around me. It's 11 at night. It's pitch black everywhere else except my little light. And I'm like trying to get my energy up for this read.
Yeah.
And as hard as I might try, you might notice that it's just a little under. Yeah. And if I recorded it at 2:00 the next day while everybody was at school and work, you would have got such a different read.
Yep.
Part of it's my biorhythm, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Part of it's my circumstances. And if there's construction going on across the alley and it gets really loud and I have to record around it, I'm pissed off and kind of in a hurry. By the time I get the read done, I'm pissed off and I'm in a hurry.
Yep.
And it's a different read. And I'm not saying that it sounds pissed off. I'm just saying maybe not as much time was taken. And I didn't settle ever into a great read. So this is what I hate about what's happened since the pandemic. I fucking hate that we're not being directed, that we're not directing, and that people, poor actors that are just starting out and they get hired because their voice print is awesome.
Yeah.
And sounds so right for that role or that product. And then they get to the studio and people are weird to them and they don't know why people are being weird and that people are trying to get what they want out of them. But this poor person's never been in a studio environment like this or doesn't have an ear. They haven't developed their ear. They don't know that they're going up at this end of every sentence. They have no idea. Mm-hmm. I feel bad for that person to get canceled and have that heartbreak or be replaced or whatever, just because they haven't had that experience of being in the studio enough. And we're not getting that right now. So that's why we teach.
Brings us very nicely. We have to wrap it up here. Yeah. But it brings us very nicely to where can people find you, including where can people learn the art of voiceover from you?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so I'm on Instagram.
Yes.
I am saffron.voice.
Okay.
But I really want you to follow me on TikTok.
Yes.
Because that's where things get juicy.
Are you also saffron.voice there?
No, I'm just Saffron Voice.
Okay.
On TikTok.
So similar.
Yeah. So Saffron Voice on TikTok would be like, if you're going to go to one place, please go there. And then if you're going to come to two places, Instagram is saffron.voice. Mm-hmm. So a couple of animation friends and I, really anime friends and I have created this little monster that we call Anime Time Machine, because so many of us have worked together in Vancouver doing the OG English dub voices for things like Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Inuyasha, Death Note, Hamtaro, like all these vintage anime shows.
Yeah.
Super fun. Yeah. So Brian Dobson is a voice actor and Carl Willems is the guy who directed so many of us in these shows, like all through the ages, and continues to. Yeah. And so we are doing like lives, like we're doing an Instagram live this January 29th. So like Sunday, it's a Sunday, 11 a.m. PST. And we do Streamily signing. So I really would love it if some of your listeners go to our accounts. So on Instagram, we are anime.time.machine.
Yep.
And on TikTok, we are anime.time.machine. And on YouTube, we're just Anime Time Machine.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So
we'll link those in the show notes and everything.
Oh, thank you so much. Yep. So it's really fun because we sit around and chat. Just it's like being at a panel, kind of, and people.
Are we talking like we're streaming a little mini Comic-Con just with you guys?
Kind of. And so people are in the chat and they ask us questions. And like the last one we did, I was so worried that we wouldn't have enough people asking questions that I made like a pile of awkward questions. Just like the worst questions possible, just to kind of spice things up if it was super dull. We never even got to our pile of awkward questions because the fans are so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they kept asking really interesting questions. So on YouTube, we've got like 3 1-hour videos from that last live. This next one will only be 2 1-hour videos, I hope. Mm-hmm. But we had a great time and we signed things that you can buy at streamily.com. Yeah.
So can you explain that a little bit? Because I mean, I know I saw you guys posting about that the last time. I do not understand this Streamily signing business at all. Yeah. So can you explain that a bit?
Yeah. So basically when you're working with Streamily, they are your store that people can buy. So we're streamily.com/anime time machine. Mm-hmm. You go there, you look at all we've got prints and we've got original art of some of our characters. And we've got Funko Pops, which are those little toys. Mm-hmm. They're really cute. And you can buy those. And then on our live on January 29th, we will sign those to your specifications and they get shipped out to you by Streamily.
That's very cool.
So Streamily is like a service. They're not the platform that we're streaming from. Like we'll be on Instagram, on our Instagram account for sure. And we might try to do YouTube at the same time.
Yep.
Let's see. And so that's the platform, is Instagram. And once we have 1,000 followers on TikTok, which God knows how we're going to do that. We probably have 15 right now. Once that happens, we'll also do lives on TikTok.
Yeah, I gotcha. Oh, is that how it works on TikTok? See, I'm so new to TikTok. Yeah. I don't know these things, but you have to have enough followers to be able to go live.
1,000. You have to get on TikTok. You have to have 1,000 to go live, and you have to have, I think you have to have 1,000 to make playlists.
Okay. See, you didn't know that you were getting a social media course from two old bots.
Follow me for more tips. Follow me for more tips. I mean, I'm on TikTok as myself too, as Saffron Voice, but I'm really happy to share the anime time machine part of it with you, because we're just sort of discovering the fans of the stuff that we worked on, and they're sort of discovering us. And a lot of people say things like, "You guys are my childhood," which is so sweet, because we're old and we're like, what? Like, what we did served a purpose. So it's really fun.
That's very cool.
Do that with these guys. Yeah. And we're going to have a special guest on January 29th, because all our anime voice actor community is just, quite lush. So
yes.
Yeah. So we're just bring people onto the time machine.
That's very cool. So, and it's a surprise guest. We don't get to know how to.
Well, I can tell you.
Ooh, info.
Yes. No, it's Jason Simpson, and he's a fantastic actor. So he's got tons of prelay credits, like you've seen him on all kinds of cartoons. Yep. Heard him. But also, like, he was on Death Note, which is one of the shows I did, and Inuyasha, one of the shows I did. He Dragon Prince, there's another one. Dragon Prince is one that he's known for right now, that people are excited about. And he's just a fantastic guy. And he created this little bit of art that I sent to you.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Time machine. And we said to him, because he is an artist, we said, would you do like just a caricature, like of our three heads, just like a black and white, like you went to the PNE and you got this character. And do you mind? And he just like poof, made this gorgeous. It's really fun. It's a fun shot.
That's very cool. And we will share that on our social. And
thank you.
Because I don't think we can put graphics in our show notes, but we'll put it out on our social, and we'll.
So nice. Thanks. Appreciate that very much. And Jason Simpson is going to be our guest on the 29th. So it's going to be a full house. It's going to be really fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Saf. This has been an awesome conversation, and I think it's provided some really good insight for some up and coming voices.
Excellent. Well, I'm very happy to share. I might have overshared. Well,
that's okay. We love a good overshare.
Yeah. Oh, and voiceover students I teach at On the Mic. It's called On the Mic Training, and they're an accredited voiceover school, which is the first in North America. There's an actual school.
That is super cool. So they can come and actually like take 4 credit courses from you to learn how to use their voices on the microphone.
Yeah, they have a full-time program. They have part-time. They have workshops, and they're turning out a lot of great actors who have some pretty privileged information, because everybody that's teaching is a working actor.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And we will post all of this, all the links and everything in the show notes, so you guys can find it super easily. And just thank you so much for your time today, Saf.
Thank you. Thank you, Mama. Thank you, everybody.